You are what you eat. Use it or lose it. Be careful out there. These are words of wisdom for a healthy life. Nutrition, exercise, safety. Tonight, On Call with the Prairie Doc. Good evening and welcome to On Call with the Prairie Doc. Among other things, good health relies upon a basic three-legged stool: eating well, having an active lifestyle, and avoiding day-to-day dangers. But let's first dive into this week's Prairie Doc quiz question. This is a multiple choice tonight. What is the best definition for science? Is it 1, the study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world; 2, the search for truth in the physical world; or 3, rejection of spiritual thinking? Viewers who call, you're answering the questions, aren't you, Bonnie? Viewers who call in the correct answer will be entered into a drawing to win a signed copy of our book, The Picture of Health. Each of my essays, originally written for this show, comes with a wonderful accompanying photograph by Dr. Judith Peterson. We'll announce the answer and the winner at the end of this show. Remember, you only have 10 minutes to get your answer in, but we're going to answer throughout the hour your questions about a healthy lifestyle as they're called in or sent to us via Facebook or email. Call in questions to 1-888-376-6225 or send us an email to the address on the screen. Joining us tonight are Drs. Bonny Specker, the director of South Dakota State University Ethel Austin Martin program, and Teresa Binkley, also with the SDSU Ethel Austin Martin program. Two doctors of the different kind. The one they say they're smarter than the MD doctor.
The ones that know science.
The one who are true scientists.
Medicine. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a parascientist. That means that I tell people to eat pears so that they get, healthy. Joke, joke.
Well, my mother told me as she was aging and had a little dementia, she said, "Oh, you're a doctor, but not the kind that helps people." So that's what I always think of.
So let's tell me both of you, what kind of science, what brought you to this science, and what you take as the value of the scientific research model that we have at SDSU. Teresa, I'll start with you.
Okay. Well, for me, I was a previous science teacher in middle school and high school, so I always knew that the value of helping people understand what's going on in the natural world and that type of thing was important to me. And as I went on, I just became more interested in science, and when I saw a job description to work in the Ethel Austin Martin program, it looked very appealing to me, and that's of course what led me to Bonny, and 22 years. Yeah.
Yeah, I met you because you did we were involved, Joni and I were both involved in your
rural bone study.
Rural bone
Correct.
study.
Yes, yes.
I was rural, I was not a farmer, and I was not a Hutterite.
Right.
So you're non-rural.
I'm a non-rural.
Non-Hutterite.
Non-Hutterite. Yeah, that's all I am. That's how you describe me.
Yes.
But so you went on and you got your PhD.
PhD, and for the last 22 years I've just been working in the field, and I like the part of it doing the research studies, especially in human subjects, because Bonny and I get to work with and meet so many people. And still in the community, I see people that I met through our studies, and it's very rewarding to know that someone remembers you for the work you did.
And there's a lot of different kinds of studies too, which I think makes it a lot of fun. It's not the same study all the time. We're not drawing blood and doing, a set procedures, or it's everything from working with dairy science on where they added vitamin D to cheese, and we did a study using that cheese versus cheese that what didn't have vitamin D among elderly, and looking at whether or not vitamin D in cheese can improve someone's vitamin D status.
Did it make a difference?
Very
Not
small.
much.
It was a small amount of vitamin D.
But we did learn how to cut 2-ounce
Yeah.
pieces of cheese
And
and
how to
shrink wrap
seal
them.
it.
Yes.
So,
And then we got to deliver it to all the participants.
A lot of teamwork. That's,
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a lot of teamwork.
yes, a lot of cheese stuff.
A lot of getting up at 3 in the morning.
So you, they robbed you from what? Where were you
I was
working?
in Cincinnati at Cincinnati Children's Hospital in neonatology. I had a degree in epidemiology, the study of diseases. You know, why do some people develop illnesses and other people don't, or why are some people healthy and other people aren't? So my area of focus when I came here was pediatrics and lactation and maternal child health, nutrition during those periods. And we've been doing a lot of bone studies primarily. For the last 6 years, we've been doing some things with the Department of Health, but
And
the
that's
bone study was probably our biggest one.
Mm-hmm.
1,200 people we followed for.
And I was one of them.
You were one of them.
I was a non-Hutterite, non-rural.
Yes, you were, but you know, that study was designed in a way, we had 3 very different populations. And what we wanted to do was figure out, like, why is it that some people have really strong bones and other people don't? And we were interested in lifestyle, so physical activity primarily, and also diet. And at that time, we were interested more in calcium and vitamin D, although it's probably more complex than that. But it was fun. It was a fun study. A lot of people worked on that.
And the question is, what made the biggest difference between bone density?
Probably the thing that influenced bone health the most was physical activity outside of genetics.
Right. I mean, you inherit your body.
Right. Right.
And women have thinner bones than men, don't they? Ooh, I tripped into a dangerous
Not
area.
necessarily. I mean, bad bones can happen in men too.
Yes.
But one of the interesting things that we actually found was that people who have really strong bones, we followed these people for long enough that we could see what happens to them. And the ones that had really strong bones, a lot of them ended up getting hip and knee replacements. So really strong bones might be great for preventing fractures, but it's going to not be nice on your joints.
That's very
Which
interesting.
makes sense in a way if you think about it.
So the other thing that it's
Moderation.
Moderate. Oh, that's the answer to everything.
Everything.
So you're going to say moderation every time I start
Yes, moderation.
So one of the things that's been interesting to me is discovering vitamin D deficiency. And of course, you know, when you start testing people, you see it in people who are obese more than you do in thin. And you just see it randomly too. And so I was big into pushing vitamin D. You know, I mean, the people listening to this have heard the vitamin D spiel. I mean, we're 18 years into a show, right? Mm-hmm. I was into.
But how much are you telling people to take?
Well, I always said 2,000.
Oh, that's
international units of vitamin D. So
some people are pushing a lot higher than that, and what they're finding now is that really low levels are bad, but really high levels are just as bad.
Right.
2,000 units a day is at a good point where
it's not too much, it's not too little.
Right,
it's the mama
it's
bear.
the moderation in a way.
It's the baby bear, or the the Goldilocks.
At least for this part of the country, we should say it's a good amount.
But recently I read, and of course you got to be careful what you say from one article or two, is that vitamin D levels are important, but you don't really seem to be able to raise them up by giving them vitamin D supplement, or you don't seem to be helping them by giving them vitamin D supplement, and that there's something else in there like sunlight or the exercise. But so I'll throw that out to, start with you, Teresa. What's your take on that?
I think it was interesting when we did the study in the rural and the non-rural and the other rates. We felt that the farmers would have higher levels of vitamin D because they're outside so much of the day. And we found the exact opposite. It was the people in town that had higher levels of vitamin D in their blood. And
the rural people had a higher level of low vitamin D. More people had low vitamin D.
When we thought about it, we thought someone in town in the summer, they'll have shorts and a t-shirt, they'll
hanging
go
out
to
at
the pool.
Farmers, you're covered from head to toe.
Yeah, they wear their cap, they have their long sleeve shirts and jeans, and so, you know, that's just one of the things with science, that what you think will probably happen. Then you collect the data and you look at the results and you say, oh, we were wrong, you know, that isn't what happened. So I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, isn't that true? Because epidemiology really is where you discover, oh, we were wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, the perfect example of that, and we'll get, you know, I'll start this. We were wrong when we were pushing babies to sleep on their belly. We thought aspiration was causing SIDS, you know, sudden infant death syndrome. And epidemiology came to the rescue and said, with good science, no, you got to lay them on their back.
Right, and you know, that's what we've been working on the last 6 years with Department of Health, is more back to the maternal child health issues. And we've been working on what we call the PRAMs. I even have a little book here.
Okay,
where's the camera?
Yes.
This is a CDC funded study that the state of South Dakota has been doing for a couple years. And PRAM stands for Pregnancy Risk Assessment Monitoring Survey. So we're trying to look at maternal behaviors sort of around the time of pregnancy, before, during, and after. And in this survey, there are questions related to sleep. And safe sleep is an issue in South Dakota. The infant mortality, of a large percent of those infants that die once they're discharged from the hospital are somehow in an unsafe sleep environment, or it's associated with that. And we've looked at the data and we have found that actually back to sleep, South Dakota moms are doing great. A very high percent of them put their infants to sleep on the back. But a lot of them are putting soft objects and loose bedding in the crib with the infant, and that's against the American Academy of Pediatrics recommendations. So this survey is nice in that it's convinced, or it's given the Department of Health the information to say, well, we don't need to worry about back to sleep. We really need to focus on what is in the crib and what's a safe sleep environment. So now they're sort of retooling a lot of their programs to get it at that. So it's an interesting survey. We about 1 out of every 10 mothers who gives birth in South Dakota actually completes one of these. They are randomly chosen, so we mail them out, and we get back about 1 out of 10 of the moms who give birth.
That's great.
Yeah.
Educating parents about safe habits with an infant before they arrive is key to a good start to parenting.
Pregnancy Risk Assessment Monitoring System Survey. So pregnancy risk, basically. What are the things that moms are experiencing? What experiences is she having before pregnancy, during pregnancy, and after pregnancy? So where sleep comes in is we're able to ask mothers, what are your typical sleep environment practices? Are you typically laying your infant back to sleep, free from soft objects? What is the usual sleep location? So we know whether that infant is being placed to sleep in an adult bed versus a crib. So just assessing mothers of current living infants, what are their usual practices? And then what that tells us is the areas for education. If we're seeing that none of our mothers really know that they're supposed to be room sharing, then that's an area where we can do a campaign similar to the Back to Sleep campaign and say, this is why it's so important. Or if soft objects such as cute, fuzzy, stuffed animals or baby blankets are going in the crib consistently, then that's an area where we can implement maybe some infographics. And then additionally, we can ask them what they were talked to about their healthcare provider. So, or with their healthcare provider. So when they're going to their postpartum visit, after they had that infant 6 to 8 weeks postpartum, we ask them, what did your healthcare provider talk to you about? Did he or she talk to you about placing the infant to sleep on his or her back? These 4 areas are questions we ask. But it just provides another area of information for us to know, hey, maybe we need to get more information out to our healthcare providers because this is a piece of information that really is not resonating with moms or they're not remembering it. So let's provide additional information. The importance surrounding safe sleep and the sleep environment, that's the main concern we see in South Dakota with our infant deaths occurring to infants after they went home with the mom and dad. And if we can do something to prevent those infant deaths, given the data or given what we're seeing, that's what our goal is. That's the goal of the Department of Health. That's the goal of our department, is not just to look at the data and see what's happening, but to prevent that from any other family experiencing that event.
This is your program, and your questions are key to the direction of our discussion. Please give us a call. Call in your questions, nutrition, exercise, safety, anything that's related. Make a comment. And either 1-888-376-6225 or send us an email to ask@prairiedoc.org. Well, you know, this is what we're talking about right now is probably more important for grandparents almost, because parents usually catch this information, but grandparents need to know it. I mean, they need to realize there's something different going on.
Well, not just know it and for when they might babysit, but they also have a big influence on what a parent does with their child. I mean, I remember having with our kids, my mom always said, oh, you have to put that baby on their stomach or they're going to get a flat head. You know, that was the big thing when with our kids. And so, you know, I put them. Flat heads? No, they were put on their stomach. If they're laid on their back, she thought it would cause. But I mean, mothers and fathers listen to their parents, on.
Even though the parents don't feel like they're listening. Yeah.
And I think if you look at the actual data that the Department of Health has done in some recent surveys, a lot of parents are getting information from their family members. So family members play a very important role in a lot of medical information and safety information.
Back to sleep. Back should be against the mattress. So, so I committed a real faux pas earlier this evening as we were talking to pre-med students, and I said, well, I mean, you know, but you need to have bumpers, don't you, for the
head, because the head would. I mean, it used to be that heads got stuck between the crib slats. Mm-hmm. That was always what people were saying, but now they've made those recommendations so the slats aren't very big, and you do not want bumper pads. So no, Rick, you were not quite right.
No, but my dad and I made a crib for our first child before our baby was born, and everybody got the benefit of the crib. Makes me happy to think about that crib my dad and I made together. And he tore it apart one night, and he said, I read all about this. We've got to make the slats this far apart exactly. So, you know, that was one of the early things that happened in my life, is we changed the crib so that the slats were apart. We're closer together. I'm not sure what we did with bumper pads. I don't remember. I think we made them.
Yeah.
We made, you know, artificial bumper pads, you know.
Stuffed some blankets around the edge and made it a little cozier.
So tell us about that. What's the right thing to do?
You shouldn't have any pads around. Some babies might even, when they can squirm a little, they get wiggled up and they could get caught up under the bumper pad, especially if they're on their tummy. So we don't like to have those. It should be a firm mattress pad without anything extra in it. But of course now there are what's called wearable blankets, that's sort of like a little zip-up suit that you can put on the baby, so they do stay warm enough at the night without being swaddled or wrapped in other loose blankets that can get caught up in their
swaddling clothes. It makes me think of Christmas.
Christmas time, yeah.
Yes, but we don't like swaddling?
Swaddling isn't as well for the baby as putting them in the wearable sleep sacks. That's the big thing now, is that's
wearable sleep sacks.
Wearable sleep sacks, yes.
Say that.
Sleep
Flax. Say that 10 times.
Yes.
So.
But that's what's recommended now instead of the swaddling.
And you know, when you get, of course, you can get really hot. You can't escape the sleep sack, or you can get chilled and you want more sleep sack and you don't have enough.
But definitely co-sleeping is out. That baby should be in their own bed, which is in the parent's room on a flat, hard surface without any toys, cushions, or loose articles.
So you don't want to bring your baby in the bed with you?
No, you do not.
So what I did when I was the early dad was I would get up at the first cry. That was my responsibility, and I would go over and I would change the diaper, and then I would bring the baby to mom, and she would, in the bed, breastfeed the baby, and then she would put the baby back in her his crib. Would I say her? So we got 3 boys and a girl, but she was 2 when we got her. So, do we want to go anywhere further on that? We're going to have another roll in with
Tiana?
Yeah.
I think let's go to that study.
Yeah, let's talk about as long as we're talking about grandparents, let's talk about our study.
Yes, so we were lucky enough to do a
study
together.
Study
that just is coming out, just got published. And we were really lucky to work together, I feel.
It was a pleasure.
And Dr. Holm came up with the name For Me. It was 4 M's, make muscles move more. And then the E was for eat right. So we had, just like sort of the topic of the show, the nutrition, the exercise, and the safety, we had a nutritional component in that study, and we had an exercise component. And what we were hoping to find was ways that could help lead to safety to prevent falling in elderly people. So our population was 95 participants that were 70 years or older. And we recruited them and made all kinds of measurements on bones and muscles and muscle function.
You know, I mean,
And Rick did his nutrition classes.
I did nutrition classes, which was pretty good for
Hung out
an
at
MD.
So once a week for 12 weeks they met, and that was in the follow-up when we asked questions about it, a good percentage of them said they had changed their diet habits. They were eating less carbs. They said they enjoyed the camaraderie of meeting once a week, and that the sessions were very beneficial to them learning about nutrition.
So either group. So they were divided into 2 groups.
They were 2 groups. So then the exercise portion had a group that walked 5 days a week. Our goal was 5 days a week, 30 minutes a day. So we had a walking group, and then we had the second group which walked 2 days a week, and did exercises on 3 days a week. And the exercises were all developed to help improve muscle function and balance and strength in that population.
Well, and bone strength. You know, it's interesting. This German gentleman who developed the study, Eislinger, encouraged strengthening exercises. You know, sit-ups, push-ups, and he had a whole list that you would do. And then he encouraged hopping, because when you're hopping, you strengthen those bones. I mean,
or just bouncing. It was more.
Well, it was bouncing and hopping. And
yeah. Shall we could get Teresa to do it.
But yes, what we have found over the years, especially the 20+ years Bonnie and I have been working, is we started out in bones, but we've come to the realization that it's the muscles that move the bones. So you have to have strong and healthy muscles to keep strong and healthy bones. So this study too, then a lot of what we looked at instead of measuring bones is we measured muscles. We measured their function as well as their size and their density. And so we did find that in both groups, that muscle, that lean mass is what we call it, improved.
Got better.
Improved in both groups. We also found that the muscle functioning tests increased, and those are things that we did were like sitting in a chair and then stand up and sit down 5 times, and how fast can you do that? And after the 12 weeks of the exercising and walking, the people could do that more quickly, yes. And we also had a force plate that we used that the people would jump on, and we could see if the power they could create in their leg muscles improved after doing the exercises. And we found that they did improve on that functional part as well. So didn't really show that one was better than the other. We couldn't really say that it eliminated falls. But we do have enough data now, and with our publication, to do another study, a follow-up, and we would probably need around 85 to 90 people in each of our groups, our walkers and our exercises, to see if we could really find a difference between
with falls,
with preventing falls, coming to the safety. So the science comes around from gathering the data to working toward safety.
Nutrition, exercise, safety.
Yes.
And that's what you've got.
And then trying to make sure that you have the links between each of those by using a good scientific design study. You know, you may see differences in falls, but is it attributed to the muscle, the differences in the muscle? So then you look at, is one leading to the other rather than
what
jumping
came first,
ahead?
the chicken or the egg, right?
Yes. Yeah. We've got some questions. Thank you for questions. This is nice. Are amber teething necklaces of any value in helping teething? And are they safe? Do you guys know anything about amber teething necklaces?
Well, I know my granddaughter wore one. My daughter thought it worked, so, but I have no scientific evidence for that.
That's a study of one.
It's a study of one. I think people who are into aromatherapy and it's a homeopathic type treatment for teething.
Okay, so there's this tiny little aroma that they can.
No, it's like actual. You know, like a lot of people think you have these like little bead things.
Yeah.
Certain types of beads are good for certain things.
I didn't know.
And this one, I don't know what that kind is good for. I just like where I got it, so it reminds me of that.
It makes you think of your granddaughter or your grandkids.
No. Sorry.
So,
no.
Do you have any information?
I have nothing to add on that. I have no.
Sorry about not.
I know
we
just, for my babies, we put the teething thing in the freezer, and it was cold and kind of chewy, and that helped to
work on their.
Yeah, they could just
chewing.
Bite, and maybe where that tooth is trying to come through, they could feel a little
on it.
better working on it. Yeah.
Let me work this one around.
Yeah.
We got a caller from Wilmot that wants to know if baby bottles need to be warmed. Do you have any idea?
I think only in the early infant stages. I don't think you need to warm them after a month or two.
Right, I mean, when they're very early and right after birth, it could be chilling.
Yeah, but
so warm them early.
Most people are breastfeeding at that time, but if they aren't, I wouldn't warm them then. But say at 4, 5, 6 months,
there should be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be a personal preference as well, if it's something you feel your infant or baby likes.
And I'm not aware that the American Academy of Pediatrics actually puts out recommendations on that.
Well, and
my degree's in epidemiology. It's a PhD. We do science, not.
So the question I would have is if you warm them in the microwave,
you have to be careful.
And they're in plastic. You always worry that there's some plastic that gets pushed into that hole.
And the microwave also does not heat uniformly, so you have to be careful.
Because you want to shake it really good after that. At what age does the chance for SIDS decrease?
It drops pretty well around 6 months.
Sudden infant death syndrome.
You still have cases beyond 6 months, but the graphs I've seen in my mind, I see a fairly large drop after 6 months.
Yeah.
And I believe, doesn't that also have something to do with the way the lungs and everything have developed by that age, that it helps their breathing? They can wake themselves up if they're not getting a good breath by that age.
Right.
So 6 months is, I've seen that in studies as well. That's a good age.
So we're talking studies, but the answer is we really don't know SIDS, the cause of SIDS.
No.
Because sometimes they're laying on their back, there's no bumper pads and toys, and SIDS occur. It's so tragic.
Right.
Correct. Yes.
And daycare centers, I've seen a lovely lady who had a daycare center, and one of her daycare babies, had a SIDS, and everything was done right. It's just
it's not known what actually causes those deaths that are truly from SIDS.
Yeah, we don't know. One of the most heart-wrenching events is when a baby dies. The collection of information about those deaths may help prevent a future tragedy.
We have a contract with the South Dakota Department of Health essentially to look at different types of data. And one area of data is with infant deaths that occur in the state, and that's one of the projects that I work on. So what we do for them is we collect the data, we look at it, and help them understand what's happening in the area of infant death. So as soon as an infant passes away, whether it be in an in-home daycare situation or overnight in their sleep or a car accident. Of course, the appropriate officials are notified, whether it be the police, the law enforcement agencies, potentially child protection services, a plethora of individuals involved in investigating that death. So there are different forms collected. One is called the Sudden and Unexplained Infant Death Investigation Form, the SUDI form. So as much information as we can gather for that death, the circumstances, is then collected, and it's populated into a standardized report form, a national report form. It's called the Center for Fatality Review and Prevention, and Jill Munger, that's her job, is to collect all of that information and to populate that into this multi-page book. Any deaths that have occurred outside the hospital since 2013 to infants residing in South Dakota, we populate, or we collect those and look at them as a whole. And what we're seeing are practices surrounding the sleep environment that are deemed unsafe, not by us, but by national guidelines. So that's the purpose of the infographic, is really outlining those 4 areas that I talked about. The back to sleep, on a firm, safe sleep surface, free from soft objects or soft bedding, and then room sharing with their parents. And that's been shown to decrease SIDS. And so it's those additional components that we're finding surrounding some of these deaths that we really wanted to provide education in a quick, easy to understand form for these new parents who are overwhelmed with all sorts of other information.
So I need to announce that a quiz winner a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, Leanne Knutson of Centerville, please call us so we can get your address so we can mail you a book that you deserve. So thank you, Leanne, or if you know Leanne, tell her to send us your address. So thanks. This has been so much fun. Really, the SIDS story has always haunted me, and we don't have an answer. And I think about, you know, the research that's going on with our public health, which makes me think about the value of our South Dakota Public Health Department. And comments from either of you about that?
Well, I think they're doing a really good job. I was involved with the Infant Mortality Task Force when the First Lady Dugard formed that back in 2011, maybe. And as a result of that task force, they decided one of the biggest problems was they didn't have data. Like, they didn't know what the data was saying, what were mothers doing with their infants, what were their behaviors and attitudes. And that's when they started thinking about, well, maybe we need some sort of survey to find out what's going on in South Dakota. So the Department of Health actually funded the first 2 years of this PRAM survey that we did in 2014 and 2016. And then after that, the CDC now pays for a good chunk of it.
Are there other states that are doing the same
yes,
thing?
The majority of the states are actually doing it. But I think that the state actually funded these first 2 years shows their commitment, right, to improving the health in South Dakota. So there's a lot of people working very hard.
You know, when we're looking at topics for the show, we get information from the Public Health Department. They say, how about doing something on this? And we've done that over and over again. 18 years of this show, we've run into the Public Health Department and tried to do everything we can to help them in other areas as well as these.
And I've been impressed with just how many different areas they work in. This past year I helped put their youth survey and their community survey online, just trying to get as much information as they could of what areas do they need to focus on, and not what they think, but let's put out some feelers, some surveys, and find out what do people need.
Right.
And so I've just been very impressed with the not a huge group of people that they have and how much they actually accomplish. I think it's very impressive to me. I would have never seen that or known that had we not taken up the contract and started working with them.
I think about the suicide rate, when National Suicide Month or whatever it was, the Public Health Department called us, said, high alert, we've got a problem in South Dakota that's more troublesome than others, and we need to move on it. What you liked that map that showed us dark?
Well, I think maps like that. Well, just maps like that give a lot of information visually at one look. I'm sure that's why you put it up there. I like maps. I'm an epidemiologist.
Of course you're a mapper, but it showed that we have more of a problem here.
It shows which states have more of a problem. The darker, usually on maps like that, the darker states are the ones that have more of whatever the map is about.
It just leaves such a lasting impression. One thing I've learned from Bonnie over the years is you need to make a picture of something. You need to put it in a graph. You need to put it in something that's visual, and that helps people understand it. And I think that's a big asset that we have, knowing how to do some of those things to really get the point across.
Right. So, and we're trying to get the point across on a lot of things. I look at the exercise point. You know, you and I did that research. Bonnie was involved. It's been published.
Today.
But today it was published. That just blows me away. Isn't that interesting? It was today.
Yes.
But the question is really, what can we do to get people more, more exercise? Get them more, give them more exercise, encourage them to do the exercise. People are basically lazy. We all are lazy. We're all equally lazy. But why did I run, 3 times a week, about 6 miles, and then walk every day for years and years and years? Why did I do that? What drove me? And it was, I think it had to do with how much better psychologically I felt because I was exercising. And that's what we found in our group. Really, a lot of them went, it just gives me energy.
Yes, a lot of them said, I had this, 82% of that population said they felt better overall. And when they were asked, why did you feel better? They said, I just feel like I have an improved attitude and I enjoyed the camaraderie. So.
Oh, and they enjoyed the, so what would you, so the results of that study, what would be the bottom line results? Would you?
Well, I think especially in that population,
70 and older.
70 and older, they may be at a point in life where their kids are moved away or their friends are gone or what. But I think that just that time they could get together, and some of them, we had the one group of walking ladies that walked together, the Arlington Walkers, we called them. But I think that's just part of it. If you can find an activity that you can do with friends, it's very social, it's enjoyable, and you feel better because you're exercising.
Yeah.
I think that's very important.
Wonderful thing. I'm going to go all the way around back to what is Ethel Austin Meyer? Martin. What did I said Meyer. Martin. Tell us about that program, how it got started.
Sure. Ethel Austin Martin had graduated from SDSU in 1916.
Wow.
Yeah, and actually lived 100 years and endowed a program. So she left she had no children. Her and her husband left their estate to South Dakota State University. He was from Chicago. They were living in Chicago. And she endowed this program in the 70s, 1970 roughly.
Before she died.
Before she died. And she died in 1993. The funds stayed with the foundation for a while to grow. Every year she would bring in speakers, and they were in a big range of nutrition. Yeah, very interdisciplinary. And she would have professors come and actually stay for a week and to give talks in different classes on campus. And then in 1995 or 96, they decided they had enough money to support an actual program being developed in a chair. So I applied for that chair position.
And we've been stuck with, we've been blessed by...
you've been stuck with me ever since.
Yeah. So,
but it's been a lot of fun. We have, there's a core group with the Martin program that have been there a long time, including Teresa and Tiana, who you saw. The three of us have worked together for over 20 years, so we sort of don't have to talk to each other
Right.
at work. We can kind of
symbiotic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I would ask
But-
this question of the two of you, and we've got about a minute and 20 seconds, something like that. 1 minute. What would be the most important thing, Teresa, that our audience should take home from what we said today?
I think that it's important to have an understanding of science and know that there's not one answer, but it's constantly evolving. I mean, I think people get confused. Should you eat margarine or should you not eat margarine? You know, the things keep changing. But that's because new evidence is coming. And we're always trying to find the best evidence to answer the questions at that time.
All right. 20 seconds.
I think the exact same thing. I think people get frustrated with what they hear about nutrition and on the TV. You know, now they're telling us to eat eggs, and you know, for the last 20 years we weren't supposed to eat eggs. And
I'll say eggs are really good.
I like
Very
eggs.
important.
And I think that things in moderation is the key, that a lot of it's moderation, and to realize that things change because we're learning more things.
Yep, we're getting smarter.
Not smarter, just more knowledge.
More knowledge. And now for the winner of tonight's Prairie Doc quiz question, and this is, of course, I wrote it. What is the definition for science? Is it the study of structure and behavior of the physical and natural world? Is it the search for truth in a physical world? Or is it the rejection of spiritual thinking? Of course, it's not, to say it's number one, the study alone is not a strong answer. It's okay. Number three isn't right. You know, science has nothing to do with the acceptance or rejection of spirituality. It's number two, in my opinion, the search for truth. That's what science is. It's trying to find what is the truth. And it was Darlene Warren Bryant who answered the question correctly. Thank you, Darlene, for participating. And a book will be in the mail to you soon. We'll be right back after this.
For nearly 2 decades, the Prairie Doc organization has endeavored to enhance health and diminish suffering by providing useful information based on honest science in a respectful and compassionate manner. Health professionals volunteer to answer your questions each week, creating a vast Prairie Doc library of medical information available to you and your family 24 hours a day. Make sure you don't miss a thing. Follow the Prairie Doc on Facebook and YouTube for free and easy access to the entire Prairie Doc library.
It was in London, England, 1854, when a severe diarrhea illness caused the deaths of 500 adults and children over a 10-day period and proved the value of scientific thinking. Physician-scientist John Snow mapped out the locations of those sick, and his work pointed to water from a hand pump well on Broad Street as a possible cause of the illness. He persuaded authorities to shut down the source by removing the pump handle from that well. Shortly thereafter, deaths from the illness abruptly slowed, and scientists became convinced of the danger of this contaminated water. Over the next years, scientists identified Vibrio cholera bacteria as the source of that illness in London. The original pump is still there on what is now Broadwick Street, commemorating what is thought to be the founding event in the history of epidemiology, the science of understanding epidemics, infections, and patterns of illnesses in populations. The word cholera comes from the Greek word which means yellow bile, from an ancient and misinformed idea that all illnesses are from an imbalance of yellow bile, or phlegm, or black bile, or blood. We know today there are many causes for infection and infectious diarrhea, including a viral, bacterial, and parasitic. In the mid-1800s, with the aid of the newly discovered microscope, we came to realize how to categorize bacteria, and that cholera was likely responsible for many of the pandemics throughout history. Sadly, despite all our present and accumulated knowledge, human diarrhea from cholera persists today in developing countries, mostly the result of polluted water. Cholera can kill within hours if left untreated. It causes severe vomiting, along with 3 to 5 gallons of rice water diarrhea per day, resulting in severe dehydration and death often. Unfortunately, highly infectious fecal material can too easily get into the water supply, spreading the infection, especially to the very young, old, and immunocompromised. More challenging is that 75% of people infected with cholera may not have symptoms, but can still carry and spread infection for 2 weeks after exposure. Boiling all water before drinking would prevent the spread of all waterborne illnesses. Rehydration and antibiotics are initial interventional therapy for cholera. However, too often these preventions and treatments are not easily available in developing countries. The World Health Organization, an arm of the United Nations, estimates that each year 3 to 5 million cases of diarrhea and more than 130,000 deaths are due to cholera. The science of epidemiology began by discovering the water source of a dangerous diarrhea illness, and we learned how, by simply removing a pump handle, we could prevent illness. A big thank you to our guests, Teresa and Bonnie, for volunteering to come to our studio, although it was just across town, Brookings.
It was.
Yeah. Well, what a cold night. Oh my gosh. And adding their experience to the knowledge of our discussion tonight. The rate of influenza has jumped ahead this time in previous years. Even if after you get a flu shot you get sick, it will help to reduce the severity of the disease. It's important not just for you, but to help protect those around you. So, well, that does it for tonight. From all of us here at On Call with the Prairie Doc, until next time, stay healthy out there, people.
Hearing, smell, and taste. 3 out of 5 senses aren't bad. Our ears, nose, and throat, next time On Call with the Prairie Doc.
Useful, scientific-based medical information delivered in a respectful and compassionate manner. This is what we get from the Prairie Docs. I am proud to serve on the board of the Healing Words Foundation. Our nonprofit organization works behind the scenes building financial support to continue and expand Prairie Doc programs. We thank the many health providers who volunteer their time to answer our health questions. Significant funding is required to produce and distribute video, radio, and print throughout the region. Your donations will help the foundation continue to offer free and easy access to the entire library of Prairie Doc health education programs. I grew up with Rick Holm on the prairies in DeSmet. On behalf of the Healing Words Foundation,
And on behalf of a lifelong friend,
we invite you to join our mission. Go to prairiedoc.org and click the donate button today. Thank you.
Major funding for On Call with the Prairie Doc has been provided by
Avera is a proud sponsor of On Call with the Prairie Doc on South Dakota Public Broadcasting. Larson Manufacturing is proud to support On Call with the Prairie Doc as it continues to open doors for important medical information.
and with the ongoing support of these individuals and institutions.
The South Dakota Foundation for Medical Care, Brookings Health System,
Ophthalmology Limited,
Avera Heart Hospital,
Dakota Allergy and Asthma,
Fishback Financial Corporation,
Vance Thompson Vision,
Urology Specialists,
Brown Clinic,
American Academy of Family Physicians Foundation, and South Dakota Academy of Family Physicians.
Black Hills Medical Society.
Aberdeen District Medical Society.
Brookings, Madison, Flandreau District Medical Society.
Sioux Falls District Medical Society.
Dakota Bank.
Orthopedic Institute.
Physicians Care Sanford Clinic Community Service Committee.
Aberdeen Asthma and Allergy.
And Swiftel Communications.